Hello, I am David Holt, and I will be walking us through the GIS side of it, looking at a cemetery project that we just did a little while ago. It's near Sontag, Mississippi. So one of the ways to do this, and this is for our students, etc., how you pull in the data and see what kind of imagery we've got to work with. This project is scanning a cemetery for unmarked graves. It's an older cemetery, so some of the earliest graves predate the Civil War, so it's an old one, but it's got modern burials there too. So first off, we start off with trying to figure out where our site is, and we're going to see what kind of imagery we have. We do have national imagery, orthorectified, coming from ESRI. It's usually 12-inch, but we'll see where this is. So I just start off simply, no matter what the site is, like, well, Sontag's a close city, so I'm going to find out what county it is, and I'm finding out what county it is in Mississippi because I can now jump over to MARIS. And so if I look at here, it's in Lawrence County. Confirm that, and I can come over here and I can look at our MARIS data set. So I can find our high resolution imagery here, and we're going to see if we can get lucky with our data sets, and we're going to come down and look at our county mosaics. So here's a description, you get your metadata and our download. When we jump over there, we can see we've got Lawrence. High resolution data, looks like we got a 2018 set and we got a 2013 set. You'll notice that I've already downloaded those just for posterity's sake to kind of speed up the process here. But there's a reason that I downloaded the 2013 as well, as trying to check on stuff. So if we come back over here, I've opened up ArcGIS. This is just a scene, so I can move it around there. Here's Shiloh Baptist Church. I can zoom in and out, that sort of thing. I can also change my angle, but this is just to pull up our data. So remember, we want to link our folders. So if I right click on folders, I can add my connection. You can also go to map and change. You can add your data in there. There's a bunch of different ways you can connect it, but the easiest way to do it is just to go to the folder, right click on wherever you download your data. So I downloaded those guys to figure out where they are. So if I look simply, and I'm going to leave it at this one here because I found out that it was mosaic tile number 4 for our 6-inch imagery, looking at 2018. And you can see where as I wait for this to pull up, so I'm actually decompressing these, so it takes a little while to pull up there. Now notice here's Sontag right there, and it looks like our imagery is high resolution 6-inch imagery is for Sontag. So this is basically a flight over that was processed. Unfortunately, Shiloh Baptist Church, which is where our study site is outside of that area. So I do have high resolution data for that, and we can pull up the mosaic for the 2018. But the other thing that we've got is we've got a full area that was done 6-inch imagery. So the mosaic Mr. Sid file, you can see unfortunately our site is falling out of that. So for you, look at it really quick what a 6-inch imagery is. Our resolution will let this clear up as I zoom in or find out. Well, I'm in kind of close. You can see our 6-inch imagery at about 1,500 feet is pretty decent. So those are 1 to 1,500 feet. We can actually come in pretty close for this data set here. So 6-inch imagery, we get the high resolution stuff. It's really good if we're going to try to map cemeteries and that sort. The rule of thumb is if you can tell the difference between a car and a pickup truck. So there's a white pickup truck with nothing in the back. So this is really good imagery, right? So I'm going to head back to where we were. I'm just using my back navigation here until we get to that full view. So we got Ruby Lee Road. This is one of our markers there along Sontag Nola Road. So that's not going to do us any good, unfortunately. So if I pull up our county-wide 12-inch data, we'll let that populate there. It's going to come in. It's pyramid, so we're building it in. Looking a little bit better. We do have our area covered, so I'm going to zoom down here and see what kind of quality data we have. Just need to rotate it. Then we're going to zoom in. Usually about 1,500 feet is good for 12-inch. So we can see we've got some lines down here. We've got the cemetery that we scanned is located right here. North is arrow pointed up right there, so we can orient this just a little bit off so that we've got this. Keep in mind, north-south is just kind of off kilter here, which is part of the issue that we can talk about. This particular cemetery, let's see if this resolution is going to do us any good. So see, we're just right about there. That looks like it's a car. Can't really tell if it's a pickup or a car, so the difference between 12-inch and 6-inch is pretty profound as far as trying to identify things. So we're going to have to get back to usually about 1 to 1,500. 1 foot is the equivalent. 1 foot on this map would be the equivalent of 1,300 feet in reality. So you can see these guys are the new section down here. They're all lined up nice and neat. In fact, that's a pretty easy survey there. In fact, we didn't even have to survey that area because they've got that all gridded out and marked. It's the older section here. You can even tell in some cases here where the imagery, where we've got lines are running. Here's north-south. These guys are running north-south, but that one right there is not running north-south. So what my hypothesis is for this cemetery is that we have people trying to bury east-west. And so Judeo-Christian tradition is east-west, so that in theory, so if the resurrection comes, it comes from the east. So if you sit up in your grave, you should be looking toward the sunrise, is the way a lot of people are buried. Sometimes it's get reversed, but that east-west burial is pretty common in the United States. So we've got a north-south orientation of our grave sites. What I think happened in this particular one, especially the old section, is that some of the rows are running nice north-south here. Some of the rows are running perpendicular to the road. So you see how the road turns around here. So I think we're getting some that are going this direction, some that are going this direction. So it's not nice and gridded off. These guys are mostly all north-south here. These guys are a little bit off north-south, but mostly all straight up and down north-south. But we're looking at the imagery, so this is so we can find out what we can use when we do our ground penetrating radar analysis. So I'm going to turn in the stock ESRI image, and we can see that it's coming from satellite, probably equivalent to the 6-inch imagery here. We can already tell one thing: the year is different. I can go back to our site here. We can see that the 2013, it was taken at almost just before noon on Friday the 12th is when this guy was actually posted up here. But we could figure out when that was actually flown. We can look at various data. So this one right here, we can see all the trees are nice and green. Granted, they're evergreens, but these guys do change. We do have different types of trees growing in the area. Nobody's in the parking lot, so it's probably not a Sunday. If we switch back over to the coverage that we do have, is from 2018 12-inch. This will override it. You can see that we're leaf off here. So the evergreens are still green. A lot of these other trees and the cypress, they're all turning brown. But we can see that we've got our leaf off, and we can see kind of through the trees. We've got a shadow coming here, so we know that it's also the subsolar point is further to the south, which puts us in winter. Leaf off lets us know it's in winter. We've got, just a single car in the parking lot here, so we can figure out, again, it's not a Sunday. I can look around and find out more data, but usually these things are like February flyovers here. So we look at the two data sets that we have. We've got this one, it is leaf off. I'm going to come into about 1,000 feet here, so we're saying right here, so we're about 1,100 feet more resolution back and forth here, and then I'm going to drop that one off and look at this imagery here. This one's a little bit more grainy, so I would actually like to work with this, but we're not going to get too much on it. We can tell where our rows are. You can see these rows, we actually see evidence here. These rows are not parallel to each other here, even in the new section. So we've got another one off here that's kind of not north-south, that's a little off kilter. So tradition's probably continuing on that line. So this is just a really quick overview about how we got our data. We downloaded it from our MARIS website. I've linked it in here, so I've got my 6-inch imagery coming from 2013. I've got what ultimately is a 6-inch imagery from 2018, because the high resolution imagery in for Lawrence County was flown just around Sontag and a couple other cities. We didn't do the whole area wasn't done in 6-inch imagery because it's an expensive process. So we'll go ahead and stop this part of the recording here, and then we'll run over and look at our GPR data and how we process that.